Hello dandelions! I have a fascinating story to tell you. Today's episode is about the last Grand Duchess, granddaughter, daughter of kings, and sister of the last Tsar of Russia, born into great wealth but endured suffering and hardship that not everyone can experience. I'm going to talk about Grand Duchess Olga Alexandrovna of Russia. Okay, I got flowers, I got map, I got my legs. I'm moving towards the grave. I am very excited to see the grave. I couldn't imagine that I can relate to royalty pretty much, but I can because she's also an immigrant and she also likes to draw. Yeah! And before we dive into the story, I would like to explain her title and full name, which is confusing to some. In particular, Alexandrovna part. Alexandrovna is her patronymic, which is traditionally used in Russian names. Her father is Alexander III, which makes her Olga Alexandrovna. I also have a patronymic in my Russian documents. It is a part of legal documents and official titles. However, there are ways and loopholes for changing your patronymic to a matronymic. It is rare in the overall history, but it has become more common since a single mother raised most of Generation Pepsi. In the summer of 1882, all the belfries of Petergov struck their bells. On June 13, 1882, Grand Duchess Olga was born. Her Imperial Highness was the youngest of the Romanov family and received outstanding home education at the Great Gatchina Palace. She fluently spoke Russian, French, Danish, and German, and studied literature, mathematics, history, and art. She learned to draw from the best artists of her time, such as Makovsky, Zhukovsky, and Vinogradov. Despite her artistic nature, Olga couldn't stand ruffles, decorations, or extravagance in her wardrobe. Grand Duchess preferred minimalist designs, or didn't care at all. Fashion wasn't her passion, unlike mine. She knew how to ride a horse before she started to walk. Fun fact, she is the only one in her family who chose to make art a career. Her favorite art material was watercolor. She drew flower doodles in her notebook during math classes, according to her memories. Olga held art exhibitions in the Gatchina Palace, with revenue going to philanthropic causes. Even during her royal period of life, she is described as a down-to-earth person who would babysit peasants' kids, walk a lot by herself in St. Petersburg, or use simple carriages for transportation. She had no problem casually speaking to a commoner. Unlike her mom, she didn't like theater, and that goes for basically every formal public event. She wasn't a fan of parties and court gatherings, but had to attend them. However, she loved the hiking trips in Gatchina Palace forests with her father and brother Mikhail. Olga was a daddy's daughter. Happy childhood ended in 1888. The crash of the royal train gave her PTSD and foreshadowed a significant loss in her life. She lost her best friend 6 years later, and her brother Nicholas became the emperor. She kept drawing. Later, 18-year-old Olga was arranged by her mother to Duke Peter Alexandrovich of Oldenburg. After her marriage, she became a princess of Oldenburg, but she never used her new title. It was lower than her own. This marriage didn't work out for many reasons. Significant age difference, the fact that they are distant relatives, their opposite personalities, and the absence of sympathy between partners. Unfortunately for Olga, the prince wasn't into women in general. Like the rest of her marriage, the first night she spent alone, while her husband would gamble her money. Maybe they could be friends? No, this is a case where opposites do not attract. Peter liked nosy companionship and found art and outdoor activities boring. As a result, Olga felt lonely and isolated in this relationship. The couple lived at the opposite ends of the 200-room mansion. She wrote in her memoir that she had to order a wig because she had lost her hair from the stress. In the meantime, Olga preferred to spend time with Nikola's family, especially with little Anastasia. They had a strong bond. 2 years after her engagement to Peter, Olga meets Colonel Nikolai Kulikovsky and instantly falls in love. She found her soulmate. Her official husband went as far as offering her to simply have the colonel as a lover, but said no to the divorce offer. He wanted to retain his status as a member of the House of Romanov. Her monarch bro wasn't much of help either. He said no to the divorce. Olga had to spam him with letters for years. During the First World War, Grand Duchess Olga Alexandrovna of Russia sold postcards with her artworks to raise money for the Red Cross. Also, she volunteered a lot as a nurse in the military hospital, never being shy about hard work. The patients loved her for her kind heart. In October 1916, she was finally able to get a divorce and move on with her life. The formal reason for the divorce, marriage had never been consummated. At this point, nobody asked her husband's opinion. She waited 13 years to have this relationship. Olga married the following months. The second marriage was happy, despite the disappointment from her relatives. She lost her royal title and privileges, but gained more than she lost as Olga Kulikovskaya. Olga's updated last name saved her during the October Revolution. Since she was no longer a royal, she wasn't detained, but experienced the arrest with the rest of her relatives. Olga and Nikolai were hiding in the south of the country in the Kuban region for the first couple of years, where they had 2 sons, Tikhon and Guriy. See how happy they look in the picture! Olga was the last one of the Romanov family to leave Russia. In 1920, with her husband and 2 sons, Olga joined her mother, Maria Fyodorovna, Princess of Denmark. Her mother finally accepted her husband into the family as her daughter's husband, and it was better than nothing. After her mother passed away in 1828, family jewelry allowed the Kulikov family to purchase a farm in Balerop, where Olga enjoyed the quiet rural life she always wanted. Her kids grew up and started their own families. Fun fact, Olga would employ revolution refugees on her farm. Even as an immigrant, she didn't forget her former subjects. Her art from the 1930s through 1940s shows this peaceful period of idyllic rural life. Her paintings were exhibited in galleries all over Europe, and a portion of the profits would go to the charitable purposes for the immigrant community. An important note, Orthodox icons that Her Highness painted were never for sale. It was always a gift. Then World War II and some bad news. Soviet Union demanded Denmark to send Grand Duchess back for some reason. The situation was tricky, but fortunately for her, there was no grand return. In 1948, Olga with her family fled to Canada, where she said she finally felt at home. I have birch trees. You have birch trees. Birch trees. Birch trees forever. Anyway, Olga and Nikolai, who were both 60 years old at the moment, came to Canada as agricultural refugees. The couple started a quiet life on a 200-acre farm in Campbellville, in Ontario, not far away from her children and their families in Toronto. She had the same lifestyle as in Denmark: rural life, painting, exhibitions. She got the best she could from her famous name for her artistic career, which is a smart move. At the same time, her name drew the attention of a unique crowd. As much as the family lived modestly and tried to maintain privacy, example, most of her neighbors wouldn't guess she was a royalty. She was constantly bombarded with letters and visits from fake, so-called survived relatives. Since the bodies of the Romanovs weren't found yet, many people were up to royal fame. Quick disclaimer, eventually all bodies were discovered a few decades later, and nobody survived in the Ipatiev house. Several individuals claimed to be members of her brother's family in Denmark and Canada. Those echoes of the past were tragic and heartbreaking. In 1952, Olga and Nikolai moved to a house in Cooksville. They loved the farm, but it was challenging to maintain it as they grew older. Their 5-room house at 2130 Camilla Road was full of flower pots, paintings, and photos of imperial days. There are many stories about her actual royal relatives' visits to Canada. The House of Romanov had ties with most European royal families, and Olga kept in touch with all of them. There was a funny story when she was disappointed that she had to buy a new dress because royal relatives were coming. For us, they are notable people from the news. For her, it's just a cousin Joe. Why would you dress up for a cousin Joe? In 1958, her husband Kulikovsky passed away. Olga kept herself busy and remained proactive in the immigrant community. Her children often visited her. In the last years of her life, she wrote an autobiography with the help of her friend Jan Voorhees. They met at the exhibition of Byzantine art in Toronto. Once again, art led her through life. She passed away on 24th November 1960. She left behind more than 2,000 paintings. Her kids and grandkids are in Canada, keeping the House of Romanov legacy. Many articles have loud titles that her life ended in poverty. She spent last months of her life with a former officer of the Imperial Guards family in a Toronto apartment above a barber shop. I wouldn't call it poverty. It's the end of a simple mortal. I don't think Her Highness would be upset about this comment, since she was proud of her wrinkles. They made her look like a Russian peasant woman. And there is nothing wrong with being a Russian peasant woman. And she had friends by her side, and that is something. The Tsar's daughters would receive 1 pearl for each birthday, and so gradually the necklace would be assembled. 1 year equals 1 pearl. What would yours look like if you were given 1 pearl annually to create the necklace of life? Hello, dandelions! This is the end of the episode. Thank you for watching. Did you experience immigration? If you did, what is your story? So, this is my wonderful trip to the cemetery. I got the flowers. It's pretty. The gate closes in 2 hours and average wait time for the cab is 45 minutes. Awesome. And my outfit, which is really nice. But I already hate those pants. Walking in them, it's like sweeping streets with my clothes. Not good for my pants. They shouldn't be